Babylon. Yeah, we sat down and we cried when we remembered Jerusalem. We were sick, Lord, near to dying. Oh,
Shalom, shalom, family. Welcome to another Tanakh review. My name is Uzziah Lewy, one of the teachers of Congregation CHOKMAH BINAH. Giving all honor, glory, and praise to the Most High, King of the universe, for life, food, clothing, and shelter, wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. Thanking the Most High God for another day here on earth, alive here on earth. And I pray that the Most High God will continue to bless each and every one of you as we do this recurrently, weekly, for the exception of the days when we have, when usually I have something going on, or I can't, I won't be able to record, but pretty much every Shabbat evening we come to you live, although the show is pre-recorded, but we come to you every Shabbat evening, not live, but a premiere show. So don't forget to share, like, and subscribe. Don't forget to leave your questions, very important, to leave your questions for Nasik, so that he will be able to answer them. No question, don't think no question is not adequate enough. If you have something on your mind, it doesn't have to be necessarily on the topic, but you can leave a question in the comments or in the chat as the premiere is happening. So thanking the Most High God once again for my life and the life of my family and the life of all of you. Today we will be going over, or Nasik will be going over, the portion of Wayishlach. And for that, I turn it over to one of my teachers and one of my mentors, Nasik Zurishaddai ben Yehudah. How are you, Nasik?
Great, Brother Shem. First of all, let's give praise to the Supreme Intelligence of the universe, God of my forefathers, God of Abraham, God of Isaac, God of Jacob, and due respect to the platform on the D.C.B channel platform, spiritually Chief Prince Ariel ben Saska, to the host Chief Uzziah ben Lewy, to the Princess Chief, Kohanim, Rabbinate, Maureen, brothers and sisters, and visitors to the channel. I greet you all in the tongue of my forefathers, Shalom Aleichem, and an early Shabbat Shalom. And I like to start off with Adonai, Septai, Di Dapo Fiyagi, Tila Theaka. O Lord, down my lips, my mouth should declare thy praise. And also, the top of my thoughts is my condolences go out to the family of the late Morey Yehudah, who made transition, who was residing in the Fort Lauderdale area of Florida. May God comfort the family with all the other mourners of Jerusalem and Zion. And I say amen to that. Now, also, I had and thanks for the brother J. Don. I think let me know he's in California. I thought, maybe he might be for Chi-Town. But anyway, I think I know he's on the West Coast, so it's like hours difference between that and where we at. So and I appreciate the question, and I will address that as I go back over a few items in that area. So and it's pretty much very clear in for most instances. You have a lot of when I go into the book of Wayishlach. Oh, it's before I like to go back when in the previous portion, which I skipped over a lot of stuff, and I want to just touch on and highlight some things going forward. And I think it'd be very relative to what I need to bring out. And also, as we look, we know our father Jacob. Oh, let me just give everybody an overview just in case. Well, I know I ain't gonna finish everything. But when we deal with the portion of Yisrael, which is the one that everybody just recently done, it starts from the 32nd chapter of Genesis, the 4th verse, and it goes all the way to the end of the 36th chapter, which is a strange ending for the history that's going on, and when it deals with the generations of Esau, and so overall, the whole portion of that particular portion deals with, as we start off with in the 32nd chapter, where Jacob, sends presents to brother Esau, and you find out that he wrestles with an angel, and his name is changed. You find out that Jacob meets his brother, and then Jacob resides in Shechem, and Shechem, his only daughter, is defiled. Only patriarch that we read about that has a daughter, other than if you go by certain midrash views about Abraham. And also, you find that he moves to Bethel. Find that Benjamin is born, and his mother Rachel dies. Jacob returned to his father's home, and the death of Isaac. And then we go into, after the death of Isaac, then we read about Esau descendants. But I'm only going to focus on a couple of things in that particular portion. And so I will always ask the people, the listeners that entertain me coming into their space and time, that read the whole thing for yourself. If you have any questions, hopefully I'm able to address those questions. And if not, if I'm not able to address them, say, well, I just can't address them. We have to, we both must go ahead and do our research for further information. So as I look, going back, I want to focus on when he met Rachel and why you say. And we know that he met Rachel at the well. Excuse me. So that's where he met his future love, Rachel. And one of the things I like to read from the 29th chapter is that when it says in the 9th verse, 29th chapter, 9th verse, while he was yet speaking with them, which is the herdsmen, the shepherds, Rachel came with her father's sheep, for she tended them. And it came to pass when Jacob saw Rachel, the daughter of Laban, his mother's brother, and the sheep of Laban, his mother's brother, that Jacob went near, rolled the stone from off the well's mouth, and watered the flock. Laban, his mother's brother. And Jacob kissed Rachel and lifted up his voice and wept. And Jacob told Rachel that he was her father's brother. All right. Now, he's actually technically actual nephew. But, he said, that he was her father's brother. And that he was Rebekah's son. And she ran and told her father. Now, the word or Aki is generally used because we know when Jacob got to the spot, one thing, when he reached the city, the township, he addressed the other shepherds, the male shepherds, my brothers. And we know, not directly related to him, but that was a way he looked at and addressed them as my brother. And sometimes when we read also when Abraham and Lot had the issue, even though Lot was the nephew of Abraham, he referred to him, as Abraham referred to him as a brother. So, and not knowing how old he was, what's the difference in the age difference between Abraham and Lot? But one of the things I have uncles that's basically a month older than me. He's the youngest in his family. I'm the oldest out of my grandmother's children. So sometimes it could be that close, or sometimes you just grow up to a certain maturity in life that you would refer to your uncle and uncle and nephew might refer to each other as brethren. So that depends, but it's sometimes interchangeable. And one of the strange things is that when when this happened, is that the way you first, before you introduce yourself, you would grab this woman and then kiss her and then start crying? That's a strange introduction. Though he know her, she yet to know him. And he only know her from the identification of the men that was around the well, the other shepherds. So there's some things you might say, well, that's not really Eastern culture. It's not even good to do that, period, in society that we live today, that you walk up on a female, you know her, she might be a relative, she'll have a clue who you are, and you just grab her and kiss her and start crying. You would, first thing would think, this must be some mad guy. But this is letting you know that our people that we talk about in the book have no, are human, and some things don't always be the halo style of what we can stereotype. These guys are supernatural and they're super righteous and everything like that. So as I move forward, I'd like to bring out another point. All right. That the 13th verse. And it came to pass when Laban heard the tidings of Jacob, his sister's son, he ran to meet him and embraced him and kissed him and brought him to his house. And he told Laban all these things. What things? Why are you there? To get a wife? Why are you there without any supplies, servants? Why are you there just with a staff in your hand? You come here such a great distance. How do you make it without certain types of supplies? And I just remember you saying you my sister's child. So the first thing I'm gonna think of, my sister let you go like that, and she sent you here. And when she was sent for, she was sent royal. She know that's how it would go, and she know me. So these are some of the things that we have to bring out and consider. What did he actually tell Laban? Which means transparent or white, that he would be comfortable with with meeting him, because Laban ran to meet him just like he ran to meet this servant of Abraham before when he seen gold and jewelry. So Laban, we know, we find a little bit more about his character. But what's interesting is that now I come there and that's to see what's going on. I don't see anything, Lord, wealthy about you, even if it might see a resemblance. But he told Laban all these things, and surely thou art my bone and my flesh. And he abode with this, and he abode with him the space of a month. That's important. That Jacob stayed with them in the house for a whole month. naturally he's doing. We're going to find later on that he didn't stay there without pitching in. And Laban said unto Jacob, Behold, thou art my brother. Shouldest thou therefore serve me for naught? Tell me, what shall be thy what shall thy wages be? Now, what's important is that some people come to your house, a relative might have had a hard time, and they'll sit there, and now it becomes a flop house for them. But we find here that Jacob didn't move like that. Though he came there with nothing, he pitched in and did what he could to help and assist to sustain his tenure there. And he stayed there a month. But also, he get a chance to eye both the daughter, the one he wanted to marry. What kind of character is? I just met her. I got an idea how mom act. I'm learning a little bit about my mother. But, you know, one of the strange things is that thieves don't trust and like thieves. Deceivers don't trust and like deceivers. So, and yet, an honest person will welcome another honest person, because then they feel less vulnerable. But so this is some of the things to consider going forward, because it brings out another character like I'm going to bring out later on as we go through the next portion of this particular book of Jacob's life. And it says that and also, and we told Laban all these things. And Laban, we could say, talking about, yeah, I could see me in you. Why? He had to tell him I was on the run and what I did. So we told him all that went down. And Laban gonna be very, 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 interrogating. And he's staying in the house a whole month, not calling back at home, not getting no communications at all from back there. Then, and we know, and I just focused on last time, it says, Akadim, a few days, a few days. All right, so that's all he's supposed to be there. And he's there a whole month. So Laban recognized that you got family traits from my side of the family. So a lot of times when you just get involved with people, you got to say, well, how's their family? How they relate to their family? What kind of social friends they hang out with? Are they cordial, or they just so distrustful of people off the bat? Are they hospitable? These are some of the things you got. And I even share this with my sons, and my people share that with me when I was coming up. Sometimes you listen, sometimes you don't listen. But this is always, what kind of family they come from? Who are the family? All right. Did they get along and this and that and the other? And yet Jacob letting you know I'm on the run because of not only to get a wife, but because of certain actions I did. So first thing, yeah, you're a part of my family, but you don't have the skills. So Laban possibly could have looked at Jacob as not just family, but a protege. Because we grew up in a time where we have a patriarchal society. But some of the traits that you get from your mother, the other guys and the mother's side of the family are going to recognize those traits more readily than your father recognizing the traits from his side of the family. So as we go further into the book, and it says Laban had two daughters. The name of the elder was Leah, and the name of the younger was Rachel. That's the first time we Leah is ever introduced into the story. That's important. And Leah's eyes were weak, but Rachel was a beautiful form and fair to look upon. And Jacob loved Rachel, and he said, I will serve these 7 years for Rachel, thy younger daughter. And Laban said, it is better that I give her to thee, than that I should give her to another man. Abide with me. And Jacob served 7 years for Rachel, and they seemed unto him but a few years. We find out later it was hard years, hard labor. But when we go a little bit further, and it's important that I bring out certain things before I go to the next portion. I said, seemed him a few years. He served for Rachel. Served 7 years for Rachel, and they seemed unto him but a few days. For the love he had to her. And Jacob said unto Laban, give me my wife, for my days are fulfilled, that I may go in unto her. The 21st verse I always find really brutish. And, and I'm not like an isolated guy to street life and everything like that. But I don't know any guy that can meet the father of a daughter of a woman, the father of a woman. And even though we got something going, we plan to get together, that even in the wedding day, you're gonna say, I gotta hurry up and get to the blue room. I mean, that had to be something that say, well, man, I know they're gonna get married. I know they're grown. I know that's what they do. But do you come off like that? That seems so vulgar and barbaric. And but you have views on both sides of that equation. But just to think about that, and this is our Father we're talking about. And so where's the compassion, not only for the father, but also for the woman he getting ready to get, to say some certain things like that. I'm gonna tell you about the bedroom. That's what I'm gonna do before I go to do it. All right. But anyway, you could discuss that with the teachers. But I'm just showing character, and it's very important for when we get ready to go into the next episode of Jacob's life. All right. So, and Laban gathered together all the men of the place, and made a feast. And it came to pass in the evening that he took Leah, his daughter, and brought her to him, and he went in unto her. And Laban, and Laban gave Zilpah, his handmaid, unto his daughter, Leah, for a handmaid. For a handmaid. And it came to pass in the morning that, behold, it was Leah. And he said to Laban, what is this thou hast done unto me? And it was the words, it said, did not I serve with thee for Rachel? Wherefore then hast thou beguiled me? Use the word hello. The question, is it not? Permanently. Hello, that's the way you introduce a question biblically and also today in modern Hebrew. And Laban said, it is not so done in our place to give the younger before the firstborn. Fulfill the week of this one, and we will give thee the other also for the service which thou shalt serve with me yet 7 of the years. And Jacob did so and fulfilled her week, and he gave him Rachel his daughter to wife, and Laban gave to Rachel his daughter's Bilhah his handmaid to be a handmaid. And he went in also unto Rachel, and he loved Rachel more than Leah, and served with him yet 7 other years. I just want to bring out that little point there because it's controversial. Laban never actually straight out promised that this first 7 years, I'm going to definitely give you Raquel. He just made a statement, but you read into the statement what you want. That's why I want to read that point there, because we talk about karma, and I'm gonna go a little bit more into this area here, because mind you, our father's name is Jacob at this time, and he fled from the land, as far as his father was concerned, as a laudable individual. He going to get a wife, but as we understand, and as his mother understood, he's leaving as a fugitive from recompense from his brother Esau. And so we and that's important to keep bear in mind, because we just can't close our eye to the story about our fathers, but we got to see how a person may start off one way and how they develop. And that's why I wanted to go back and take my time a little bit and go on and highlight certain points in this particular story. As we look further into this area there, is that to answer the brother Jay's question, that though he prepared a banquet, and I know the word mishteh, which is banquet, a bit of drink, more so, it wasn't about intoxication. That's why I wanted to read and bring out about even the way you talk, and that in the East, most women's in veil, because we know that his mother, she kept the veil. She only put the veil on that we read about in scriptures is when she seen Isaac afar off, and the servant said, "That's his master." That's what she put on the veil, which was basically a surprise for Isaac that he's getting this particular wife, because we don't read no communication with Abraham concerning, I think it's time for you to get married. And yet Jacob is a lot older at this particular time getting a wife. And some people was, he's starting off late to try to say sow oats rather. And when we look into that area there, is that this is one of the things that the females had to look similar. And Jacob was in a rush. So being in a rush and anticipation after wait 7 years, and mind you, he was in the house for 30 days, a month, before what he proposed with his father-in-law, and worked him 7 years. He could see him every day, looking at him every day. And a betrothal was considered like a wife, even in the book of Deuteronomy. But it was, but he could see it every day. So definitely, you would get to know the woman. Even if they twins, after a while, you'll still be able to tell some difference, even at twins. So when we think about that, and we look at and where Esau and Jacob was actual twins, whereas it doesn't say in the book that Leah and Raquel was actually twins, but the sisters could be similar. And I'm sure no man, even though he'd be brutal, no man don't have some kind of conversation overnight when you would what you think the love of your life. It's just too unrealistic in that sense. So I hope I was able to address the brother's question, that you there all night long and not one word, not how you feel after this, what it is, now do you feel a lot more comfortable? Do you feel like, that your life can be better, this and that and the other, how was I, all that kind of stuff. You're going to say something under normal circumstance all night long. He does, it's not where nothing actually goes on and stuff like that. You're going to say something. Now, mind you, if it's a a passing thing. There won't be no conversation, sort of like maybe Yehudah in the situation with Tamar. But if you down there and seeing all this time, this woman, and seeing a sister all this time, and you're there for all them years, every single day, then you would know. So his rash, quick movement, and all that, on the way he moved in reference to that, and thinking about what the wording Laban has said, that it didn't matter. And then how dark are going to be in the tent? I mean, pitch black. So this is some of the things to think about and consider. So I think his own character got in the way of his discretion. That's just my view on that area there. And so then after that, I just want to read a couple more things in reference to that. All right, say love Raquel more than Leah, and the Lord saw that Leah was hated, and he opened her womb, but Raquel was barren, and Leah conceived and bore a son. All right, so now that's all I'm gonna speak on in reference to that, because that's all I want to highlight in those areas there. Is that when they got married, he got both women at the same time, and they said the Creator seen that she was hated. How did the Creator see? I'm not the Creator. I don't know. I'm only just going to share a view that I share with many people in the past, and also what I've been taught coming up as well, which I tend to accept, is that he's seen himself in play with the deception. You had two parties. You had mother and son deceiving Isaac. Now you had father and daughter, and possibly both daughters deceiving Yaakov, our father. Raquel had to be quiet and be part of that. And I know what the Midrash say and different, rabbinic views on that. I'm just saying, and I don't want to go into that. And this time you could search those things out yourself. But just in a Peshat, you look at what's happened. A mother and a son deceiving a father. And yet now you got a father and two daughters deceiving a son-in-law. All right, that's some strange retribution. And so every time you look at Leah, who he didn't want in the first place, he's going to always be reminded of what he did. But let me just go and skip past all that. So we know they had the kids and everything like that there. I'm not going to go into that part of the story there. And we know that he had stayed 20 years in there with Laban. And we know that after they come with the wages, I'm going to just skip a little bit into the 31st chapter. After he worked for the cattle, because he stayed there 20 years, the 31st chapter said, and Yaakov did well in that deal. And he heard the words of Laban's son saying, Jacob have taken away all that was our father's, and of that which was our father's have he gotten all this wealth. And Jacob beheld the countenance of Laban, and behold, it was not towards him as before time. So he recognized that, look, in around man 20 years, you get to know, facial context. Content, where we contort their face and everything like that. So now in the third verse, and the Lord said unto Jacob, return unto the land of thy fathers and to thy kindred, and I will be with thee. And Jacob sent and called Rachel and Leah to the field unto his flock. And he said unto them, I see your father's countenance, that is not towards me as before time, but the God of my father hath been with me. And ye know that with all my power I have served your father. And your father had mocked me and changed my wages 10 times. But God suffered him not to hurt me. If he said thus, the speckle shall be thy wages, then all the flock bore a speckle. And if he said thus, the streak shall be thy wages, then bore all the flock streak. Thus God had taken away the cattle of your father and given them to me. And it came to pass at the time that the flock was conceived, that I lifted up my eyes and saw in a dream, and behold, the he-goats which leaped upon the flock were streaked, speckled, and grizzled. And the angel of God said unto me in the dream, Jacob. And I said, Here am I. And he said, Look up now thy eyes and see all the he-goats which leap upon the flock are streaked, speckled, and grizzled. For thou hast seen all that Laban done unto thee. That's a very important part. For I have seen all that Laban done unto thee. I am the God of Bethel, where thou didst anoint a pillar, where thou didst vow a vow unto me. Now arise, get thee out from this land, and return unto the land of thy nativity. All right, so now that's all I'm going to read in reference to that, that particular area. The Creator only takes you from a spot that you know it's time to leave from yourself. If it's meant to be develop you better. You went there for one wife, you stayed there overtime, and you had to realize and see for yourself, this ain't the place I need to be. And since this ain't the place I need to be, why linger any longer? So God told him and then remind him of what he's supposed to do and told him the spot he need to go to. But we can highlight that another time. So we know that Jacob stole away, left out. Laban finds out, he catches with him, and when Laban catches with him, he figured they stole the guards and everything like that there, and he was about ready to hurt him. And Laban had a dream from God, so and realized that, hey, this ain't the God I worship; it's his God, and I'm being threatened in a dream. All right, so when we think about that, that in actuality, that we're gonna find, like the third person we read about that actually have a dream is Laban, and we find it that Abimelech, who was outsider, had a dream and communication from God, and Laban, and they knew, and what's interesting, they both knew what God said was true. So they had some spirituality behind them in that area. So when we go further, I'm going to go into the book of Wayishlach because it's too much I want to bring up. I'm just going to stay in one little portion of it and in this area here. And but you could go back over and see in the 32nd chapter where, after Laban and him were caught up, they had parted in peace. They parted together in peace as as brethren, and say, I won't come over there to hurt you. You won't come over here to hurt me. And he blessed the kids, and blessed his daughters, and told him not to take any other wives other than his own daughters. So that was good enough for Jacob. And now, in the fourth verse, and plus, and when Jacob went, in second verse, 32nd chapter, second verse, and Jacob went his way, and the angels of God met him. And Jacob said, when he saw them, this is God's camp. And he called the name of that place Machanaim. Machanaim is a dualism, but that means it's a celestial force. not his group that he's bringing with. And that's important that he had more interaction with angels than any other person we read about in the Tanakh in itself. And so now I'm going to go into this other part here, and this will be the last part I deal with for a minute. Excuse me one moment. I know I'm going to be a slight little pause for a second. All right, I hope I didn't take too long making moves. So now when we get into this portion here of Wayishlach, which means and he sent. And Jacob sent messengers before him to Esau his brother unto the land of Seir, the field of Edom. And he commanded them, saying, Thus shall ye say unto my lord Esau, Thus said thy servant Jacob, I have sojourned with Laban and stayed until now. I have oxen and asses and flocks, men servant and maid servant. I have sent to tell my lord that I may find favor in thy sight. And the messengers returned to Jacob, saying, We came to thy brother Esau, and moreover, he cometh to meet thee, and 400 men with him. And Jacob was greatly afraid and was distressed. And he divided the people that was with him, and the flocks and the herds and the camels into 2 camps. And he said, If Esau come to the one camp and smite it, then the camp which is left shall escape. And Jacob said, O God of my fathers, God of Abraham, God of Isaac, God of Abraham, and God of my father Isaac, O Lord, who said unto me, Return into thy country and to thy kindred, and I will do thee good. I am not worthy of all the mercies and of all the truth which thou hast shown unto thy servant. For with my staff I have passed over this Jordan, and now I become 2 camps. Deliver me, I pray thee, from the hand of my brother, from the hand of Esau, for I fear him, lest he come and smite me, the mother with the children. And thou said, I will surely do thee good, and make thy seed as the sands of the sea, which cannot be numbered for multitude. And he lodged there that night, and took of that which he had with him a present for Esau his brother. And then we go through the items that he goes through, and I'm going to skip to some of the items. And when he charged him and said, delivered him to the hands of his servants, every drove by itself said unto his servant, Pass over before me, and put a space between droves and droves. And he commanded the foremost, saying, When Esau my brother cometh to meet thee, and asketh thee, saying, Whose art thou, and whither thou goest, and whose are these before thee? Then thou shalt say, They are thy servant Jacob. It is a present sent from my Lord, even unto Esau. And behold, he also is behind us. And and he commanded also the second and the third. So it's 3 droves of stuff he sent, and all that followed, droves, saying, In this matter, ye shall speak unto Esau when ye find him, and ye shall say, Moreover, behold, my servant Jacob is behind us. For he said, I will appease him with the presence that go before me, and afterwards I will see his face. Peradventure, he will accept me. And so the presence passed over before him, and he himself lodged that night in the camp. So one thing we're going to find out this encounter, I'm going to read this encounter, I'm going to elaborate a little bit on it in a little short time, time and a half. And he rose up in the night and took his 2 wives and his 2 handmaids and his 11 children, and passed over the ford of Yabok. Now, what's interesting here, this verse, Jacob had 12 children. Why did he not talk about Dinah, the 12th one? All right, Dinah was born along with Zebulun. So why didn't he mention that at this time? That's something, that's noticeable and highlighted as we go through the story, but just want to point that out. And he took them and sent them over the stream and sent over that which he had. And Jacob was left alone, and there wrestled a man with him until the breaking of the day. What the issue was, what the fight was about, there's so many different stories about that. But the fight all day long with one individual and how it started off, that's and he's not in a dream state. So that's one thing. This is actual a physical, though it has some metaphoric tendencies behind it, which you could pretty much come up with a metaphor for almost everything in life. But this is actually a real, genuine UFC situation in that sense. And it goes on to say, and plus fighting until the breaking of day. That's a long time. Now, what part of the night they started, even whatever part of the night they started, can you imagine a turmoil going over there? And why would a man such as him be left alone and send your people on the other side, even though you have him in groves, and you still laying behind? So it's a lot of midrash stories behind that, but I don't want to go into that now. You can always discuss it with your teachers and stuff. But it seemed like if it's danger, I'm the authority of my household. I also must be the protector of the household. So why send him over there and you still laying behind? It's an issue. But certain things we remedied later on, and I'm going to point that out. And when he saw that he prevailed not against him, that means this strange individual, he touched the hollow of his thigh, and the hollow of Jacob's thigh was strained as he wrestled with him. And he said, let me go, for the day breaketh. And he said, I will not let thee go except thou bless me. Who say time is up when we start a fight? We don't know what the fight come out, what the fight is all about, and say the day's coming. Let me go. In that sense. Now, you just injured this individual, but and you tell him to let you go, but he's injured. You ain't saying you injured, but you just can't get loose. And he said unto him, what is thy name? And he said, Jacob. And he said, thy name shall be called no more Jacob, but Israel, for thou hast striven with God and with men, and hast prevailed. And Jacob asked him and said, tell me, I pray thee, thy name. And he said, wherefore is it that thou dost ask after my name? And he blessed him there. And Jacob called the name of the place Peniel, for I have seen God face to face, and my life is preserved. And the sun rose up upon him as he passed over Peniel, and he limped upon his thigh. Therefore the children of Israel eat not the sinew of the thigh vein, which is upon the hollow of the thigh, unto this day, because he touched the hollow of Jacob's thigh, even in the sinew of the thigh vein. So now they develop another dietary law. The first dietary law was given to Adam. Next dietary law is given to Noah. Now, Jacob's children develop their own dietary restriction concerning this matter of an event. So it's so much so that it became a rabbinical edict, but it was started right here in this particular for this particular instance. Now, what do rumbling, fighting have to do with a diet? With a hip being pulled out of joint, what that had to do with a diet? And another thing that we're going to address is that this area here saying Jacob's the only patriarch whose name is changed, and yet both names are used. So now, what is sometimes they have a saying that sometimes Jacob is defined by other people and not defined by him, his very essence. We learn about Jacob, first concerning, its dealings with Esau. Right? We learned that his mother loved Jacob. We learned that his father blessed Jacob. We learned that their father-in-law helped groom Jacob to a degree in a particular area. So Jacob was only defined not by himself, but the people that he dealt with for all that time. So, and like some people, it's only defined by the people you deal with. But is that the real or true you? Is that your essence? And now at this particular time, Jacob is not defined by the people that he encountered, but he's defined with the deed and the encounter that he actually had, achieved and underwent. Now, one of the things too, that he still have to meet Esau at this particular train. And I just want to try to end on this particular portion here in the meeting. All right, so I'm going to go straight to the 33rd verse, 33rd chapter real quick. And I'm going to stop at the end of the 33rd. So I'm going to stop at the end of the 33rd chapter. And I'm trying to speak on a few things. I just want to read it out so that next week I could get into the 34th chapter as we go into the next portion. And Jacob lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, Esau came with him, 400 men, and he divided the children unto Leah and unto Rachel and unto the two handmaids. And he put the handmaids and their children foremost, and Leah and her children after, and Rachel and Joseph hindermost. Look at the order. Very different. Even only one son is mentioned. And he himself passed over before them and bowed himself to the ground 7 times. and he came near to his brother, and Esau ran to meet him and embraced him and fell upon his neck and kissed him. The word kissing here is written a unique way. Those that are studying Hebrew, I'm not going to focus on it now, but nobody really has a definition of the 6 dots that's over that. And it's like 10 words that have those 6 dots in Hebrew in the scroll. That's in passing. People try to answer it, but in actuality, there's no concrete evidence of why those 6 dots is written over each one of those letters. And that for the word kissed him. And they wept. And he lifted up his eyes and saw the woman and the children and said, who are these with thee? And he said, the children whom God had graciously given thy servant. Then the handmaids came, and they and their children, and they bowed down. And Leah also and her children came near and bowed down. And after came Joseph near and Rachel, and they bowed down. And he said, what meanest thou all this camp which I have met? And he said, to find favor in the sight of my Lord. And Esau said, I have enough. All right. So, let that which is thine be thine. So, and when the word, I think is Rob here, but you could fact check me next week. I just want to go back over, in that sense, in that area there. But the word is Rob here that's used, enough. But enough, actually the word Rob means plenty, but it's translated enough, enough, but it's actually, it's plenty. I got plenty, whereas, Jacob is used with a different word there, which which is called, which is part of the Birkat Hamazon. But Abraham is, Bakal and everything. And Yitzchak is Mikal from everything, and Jacob is just called. So, okay. All right. So it said, and if I found favor in thy sight, then receive my presence at my hand. For as much as I have seen thy face, as one seeth the face of God, and thou was pleased with me. Take, I pray thee, my gift, that which is brought to thee. And because God has dealt graciously with me, and because I have enough, and he urged him, and he took it, and he said, let us take our journey, and let us go, and I will go before thee. And he said unto him, my Lord knoweth that the children are tender, and that the flocks and herds, giving suck, are a care to me. And if thou overdrive them one day, all the flock will die. Let my Lord, I pray thee, pass over before thee, his servant, and I will journey on gently, according to the pace of the cattle that are before me, and according to the pace of the children, until I come unto my Lord, unto Seir. And Esau said, let me now leave with thee some of the folks that are with me. And he said, what needeth it? Let me find favor in the sight of my Lord. So Esau returned that day on his way unto Seir, and Jacob journeyed to Sukkot and built him a house and made booths for his cattle. Therefore, the name of the place is called Sukkot. I'm going to stop there, but one of the things I want to highlight is this. Jacob himself had to go through a change. That battle changed him deeply. That battle made him undergo don't burn the house down. So as I was saying that when that encounter with the angel, we find that Jacob himself actually made a change in his life. And, you know, the Creator came to Laban because Laban did Jacob wrong. But Esau never did Jacob wrong in that sense. And to say 400 men, most people figure, well, 400 men, that looks kind of intimidating. But we know Esau had already got his had already accomplished and got his territory. He had moved out, and we're gonna find out a little later on in Sidra that he had already moved out. So he had already got the things he needed in for his land and people. He was settled. Hence, when we go close with Esau's lineage, we find a lot of information concerning Esau himself within that lineage. That's very important to us, why it's inserted in between him, Jacob coming back home, and the story of Joseph. And so it's really interesting. And Dinah, and Dinah, and the thing that happened in Shechem. So what we find here is that when he is injured, it will make him look humble. Sometimes, and why it is that God didn't come in between, sometimes you got to have them hard conversations, them hard discussions. A lot of times people run away from the hard discussions, the hard subjects, and so therefore will carry things. Look how long it's been. He was gone. He was about 20 years. Some calculate for it 34 years, and that's a rabbinic calculation that they say 14 years in school. He hid out there before he went directly over there to his uncle's house. That's another story, but I want to focus on that. But he was gone some time, and these are not young guys. These are guys that's up in age somewhere, so in their 70s. And can you imagine that a guy in his 70s at this particular time, that Jacob had a lot of troubles, but some things he had to confront. When people say things like, I can't complain, I hear that a lot in the neighborhood. And that's, Jacob had more troubles. They had a lot of troubles, and we know about Jacob's troubles. But the thing is, I can't complain. I like what most of the elders said that I grew up around say, I won't complain. Just like that psalm they sing, I won't complain. Because if you can't complain, that brings a little issue about would you pray for anybody else's salvation? And if you will pray for somebody else's salvation, you will pray for anybody healing, then you're complaining that this other individual that's made in the image of God is in a space that you're not satisfied with. And you're asking for a healing. You're asking for somebody to be able to accomplish a job. Or it could be your own physical thing. So it's not, when people say, I can't complain, that means that somebody that got beat up, somebody they placed stuff ransacked, the house then burned down, or they lost their property. Because it doesn't touch you, that's not a concern. Our father Abraham prayed on behalf of Sodom and Gomorrah. All right. That was his complaint at that time. So when we think about, I can't complain, that means this world is like a utopia where everything's going on as God will have it, as we read about in the book of Isaiah. The lamb laying down with the wolf and all that. So this is not that stage yet. But say, I won't complain, that to me more logical. But you can discuss it with, with your various, teachers about that particular concept. So I always say, I won't complain, or I'm thankful. But, and I'm thankful, but you still, if you pray, you're praying for a better world. Most people should be, anyway, if you're not. And if part of being a better world, you're not satisfied with the way the world is, because the Creator cannot be satisfied with it, because he's talking about, in that day of the Lord, what's going to happen. But he's long suffering. So I always, Jacob seen a problem, and he had a complaint. So I just want to bring those particular things up, but I welcome the feedback on that particular topic in itself. And was Esau genuine when it came? All we read about in the book about Esau is that he was laudable. I left out the lineage of Esau on the purpose of it, because I'm going to touch on that a little bit next week, God willing. But one thing I like to bring out in reference to one of the torahs that was read, let me see if I can find it right quick. It's come from the book Hosea, and it's usually most people look at it from the Sephardic point, from Hosea, the 12th chapter, and it starts at 4th verse. Yeah, 4th verse. So Hosea, the 12th chapter and the 4th verse. Now it's mostly translated like this here. In the womb, he took his brother by the heel, and by his strength, he strove with a godlike being. So Hosea referred to as a godlike being. But when you look at it in the Hebrew, and it makes a big difference, it says, Ba'betin, which has been in the belly, Akav et Aki. So Ba'bete Akab et Aki. So, so what it means in the belly, the Akab itself is supplant. That's what it uses in the book of Hosea, supplant. Even in the womb, Jacob coming out trying to supplant Esau. That's what the prophet, but I don't know why they translated another way in the English, but that's literally what it means in the Hebrew. In the belly, he supplanted. That means that this issue, when they struggle, is not just for space, but Yaakov was trying to overcome him then. From that point on, and that's what we leave from the prophets. And this is a comparison between Hosea, and you're making an analogy between the northern kingdom, Israel, Ephraim and stuff like that, and with Jacob, and let them know that the northern kingdom got paid for what they do, but God ain't going to wipe them all the way out. Jacob had to pay for what he did, but God allowed him to move on and prosper at the end, but he had to pay for it. So all the stuff he went through with Laban was payback, but yet when it comes to Esau, he had to address his own wrong. Laban had to acknowledge that God going to step in there if he continued to do Jacob wrong. And Jacob had to acknowledge also that God helped him out. But when we read that there in this area here, God didn't interfere between Jacob and Esau in that matter, because it was Jacob who had to make an amends. He had to come to that hard, deep, and embarrassing confrontation with a conversation. And that's what some people be strong and wrong. They never admit they're wrong. They never want to sit down and talk. And we got an issue, sit down and talk. How are we going to resolve the issue? Sit down and talk. Maybe you misunderstood what I did in the issue. And if it's one party wrong, then the party that's wrong should say, okay, I was wrong in what I did there. I'd like to move on. And that's what the nobility of things is about. Jacob name being, a prince, one that could become a champion, a prince for God. And also the same letters could be used in the sense of, Yashar El, an upright one with God. So we could think of that same words with the name Yisrael. So the thing is that he had to straighten this out himself, and with being injured in the battle, that it makes him look more humble. And then Esau coming ran towards him and kissed him. He ran towards Jacob, was stepping and bowing 7 times, and it could look like maybe I only could walk so far because I'm injured. And that person gonna see if you got an injury in your step. And Esau, if he's gonna be take advantage, he could have took advantage, there. And when they say one person should be stronger than the other, and the elder should serve the younger, could it be? We know Jacob was strong, but we tend to overlook the strength of Esau. So it didn't say which one was the stronger, but we might guess at, could have been possible that Esau was physically stronger from the lifestyle that he even lived. Also, when we think about the places that Esau inhabited, there were some giants there. He had conquered that land. And anytime you conquer a mountainous area of people, you got to be pretty tough, pretty strong. And this blessing was his sword. So much so we read about later. It was the descendants. That's why I want to speak on about the descendants of Esau going forward as we move forward. But even then, there's a lesson that we can learn, that sometimes Jacob had to deal with his physical part, and then sometimes as Yisrael, he dealt with the spiritual part. So it's 2 elements there. And Jacob coming back don't look like no great, strong, masculine man after that battle, especially to Esau's eyesight. Also, the thing is, he don't look like he have an army in that sense. Those are a lot of people entourage. And we find out then that when he come and referred to Esau as his servant, and Esau said, look here, what's yours, keep it. So Esau never reneged on anything that Jacob honestly earned from him. So that's why I had to read Hosea and read the verse in Hebrew and let everybody know that the prophet Hosea, in his vision, making an analogy between the northern kingdom and Jacob, said Jacob did wrong to Esau, even in the room, on the wording. Translated different in English, but in the Hebrew, it's clear cut. So that's and I just want to share that out. And if you got any questions, put that on the line with your teachers and go to, like I said, Hosea 12, fourth verse, and read it and look at that word itself. All right. So with that, I'm gonna read everybody in the time of forefathers. Shalom Aleichem, and early Shabbat Shalom. And any mistakes, been my own. And excuse me if I had to step out for a minute, because like I said, I decided to get things out the way right away. All right, with that, I said Shalom Aleichem.
Hallelujah. Torah, Nasik. Listen, I have a question. Do you
Yes.
feel when Esau was coming to meet Jacob, do you feel, this is an opinion because the book doesn't lead us to it, do you feel like he was coming to do damage, or you think that it was with him, it was like bygones be bygones, and he was going to greet him the same way, even if he didn't get all the gifts, he was going to still greet him the same way, happy, good to see him after 20 years?
Well, he didn't need the gift. He was a conqueror already.
Right.
He already was a conqueror. And, though it would take him anyway, but he was already a conqueror.
Right.
Also, the terrain is dangerous. The terrain itself that he's traveling with so much stuff, and a fighter can recognize when somebody else is not a fighter. That you ain't about that kind of life. You can recognize that from your entourage and how it's set up. And if Yaakov's plan was not so much a confrontation, but a flight, making a flight. So Esau understood that to a degree by looking. And also the thing is that he offered to leave men there to protect him, knowing the terrain. But it was Jacob that had a problem. So that's why I say it was genuine. And when I mentioned about the word, he kissed them in Hebrew, they got 6 dots over the letters, and it's 10 words with dots over it. And it's no explanation for it. So everybody go everywhere, even with rabbinic stuff I didn't want to go into. But it's no one has an actual definition. Though the Kassi gives a definition, it's not one that we could say a definition that's etched in stone. Rashi tried to give a definition, but it's not one that's etched in stone. So as we look at being truthful about the matter, and then when you pair it with Hosea, Jacob had to make amends, not Esau, and that's why I read that verse in Hosea in Hebrew, to make sure that all the Hebrew readers could see that it's tell you there that he tried to supplant him in the womb, in the belly. It started back then.
This one you could take with you and maybe answer it later if you feel you want to answer it now. Is there a correlation between Yaakov's life and Job's life?
Oh, no, there's no correlation at all in that sense. In that sense, and plus 2 different people lineage and stuff of that nature. According to my understanding, is that Job, I mean, definitely know he was not an Israelite. Most people believe he was the descendant of Edom, and because of who he hung out with and everything like that. So and then one of the things which I didn't go into, and when we talk about Teman, they was known for their knowledge, intellectual knowledge and wisdom. So and it bears out in the prophecy.
So going through a struggle, going through death, going through despair, and then coming out on the other side, we would say it's spiritually stronger, making out better on the other side of when they just started. Would there be a correlation in that way?
No, I wouldn't say that, because Jacob had to develop into what he became as Israel. Eo didn't have to develop to what he became. He maintained what he were, a righteous individual, one that feared God and shrewd evil. He maintained that. And so just trying to figure out. So I don't see the correlations in that sense. All Jacob's sons at the end kept the covenant. And that's what made Israel. Job's sons, a whole nother story. So it's hard to bring a correlation.
Hallelujah. Torah Abba Nasik, thank you for the wisdom that you brought forth today. And to all of you who are listening, may the Most High God bless you with a good Shabbat night rest. And Yah willing, we'll see each other again next week. Shalom, shalom.
Let's get knowledge, wisdom, understanding. We'll do our standing. All praises to the Most High, His laws and commandments. The CHOKMAH BINAH here to push it through your speakers. Judgment, truth, and love should be coming from the leaders. Yeah, knowledge, wisdom, understanding. We'll do our standing. All praises to the Most High, His laws and commandments. The CHOKMAH BINAH here to push it through your speakers. Judgment, truth, and love should be coming from the leaders.